Pause Brave, right here. Merida has just stepped into the witch's cottage. Stone walls, wooden shelves, carved figures sitting in the dust like they have always been there. Look at the lower left shelf. Not at Merida, at the shelf. Two objects are sitting there that have no business existing in medieval Scotland. The first is a stocky, blue, furry figure. Anyone who has watched Monsters, Inc. would recognize it immediately. The second is a miniature pickup truck, a delivery vehicle, with a small rocket mounted on the roof.
Which reminds me.
The prince! Tell it!
Oh, I'll tell you a tale.
Both of them, hand-carved from wood, in a film set 1,000 years before either of those things existed. And every time this witch walks through a doorway, she doesn't come out the other side. She vanishes. There is an explanation for all of it. But to understand it, you have to see what Pixar has been hiding inside their films for 30 years. Not just the Easter eggs everyone knows, the ones they almost got away with. This is not a collection of Easter eggs. It is a map, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it.
Ascoltami! Non puoi! È tua moglie!
Hidden in plain sight. Most people who know Pixar's Easter eggs know the same three things. There is a code, A113, hidden in every Pixar film ever made. License plates, room numbers, ear tags, concert tickets. In Brave, carved above the witch's door in Roman numerals. In Elemental, hidden on a transit sign as a chemistry equation. H for hydrogen, element 1, Al for aluminum, element 13. You need the periodic table to decode it. Pixar has been escalating the difficulty of their own inside joke for 30 years, competing with themselves over how well they can hide it. There is a yellow pickup truck, the Pizza Planet truck, a 1978 delivery vehicle with a rocket on its roof that has appeared in every Pixar film since Toy Story, even when the setting made it impossible. In Brave, it became that wood carving. In Luca, set in 1950s coastal Italy, they modified it into a three-wheeled pickup to match the era. In Toy Story 4, it appears as a tattoo on a carnival worker's left arm. But the most interesting thing about this tradition is not where Pixar hides these objects. It is what happens when you track which films contain details referencing films that had not been made yet. Because when you map that, the picture that emerges is something Pixar spent a decade insisting did not exist. And there is a voice. Actor John Ratzenberger has appeared in every Pixar film, a streak so formalized that director Andrew Stanton confirmed. Pixar actually has a rule stating that Ratzenberger must be in all of the studio's films. A rule written into the production process of the most successful animation studio in Hollywood. There is one exception to the truck tradition, one film where it never appeared. When the director was finally asked, 11 years after release, his response, "Is that so? I was busy making the movie. I didn't think about the Pizza Planet. I just had other things on my mind." He had simply forgotten. Those three things are the surface layer, the part of the map everyone has already found. But Pixar has been hiding things that a pause button alone cannot explain. The deep layer. This is where the real investigation starts. Coco, 2017. Every time a character plays guitar, stop the frame and look at their hands. The finger positions are real. The chord shapes correspond exactly to the music playing in that moment. Pixar's animation team learned music theory and worked directly with the film's composers to synchronize the fingering throughout production. You have probably watched Coco 3 or 4 times. You almost certainly never notice the hands are always correct. Not approximately, exactly. Up, 2009. Charles Muntz owns a pack of dogs, all wearing translation collars, all deployed to track a rare tropical bird. Of every dog in that pack, only one successfully finds it. That dog is Doug, a golden retriever, a breed developed specifically for tracking. Every other dog Muntz owns is a guard breed, Rottweilers, Dobermans, animals built to protect, not pursue. Pixar researched canine classifications to construct a joke completely invisible unless you know dog breeds. Doug succeeds not because he is lucky. He is the only one Muntz ever had who was built for that job. Toy Story 4, 2019. The moment Woody first encounters Gabby Gabby, there is music playing on a record player in the background. That music is from The Shining, Stanley Kubrick's 1980 psychological horror film, the exact composition Kubrick used during his most disturbing sequences. If you know The Shining, something in that scene feels immediately wrong before you can explain why. If you do not, it simply feels like an unsettling antique store. That is not an accident. That is craft. Now stay with Toy Story 4, because this next detail is one of the most quietly extraordinary things Pixar has ever done. Don Rickles, the voice of Mr. Potato Head across the entire franchise, died in April 2017. Production on Toy Story 4 was not yet complete. Pixar chose not to recast the role. Instead, they spent 2 years going back through more than 2 decades of Rickles' recorded archive, theme park voiceovers, toy commercials, outtakes from previous sessions, recordings made in different rooms, in different years, for different purposes entirely. They assembled those fragments into a performance Don Rickles never gave. Every word Mr. Potato Head speaks in Toy Story 4 was reconstructed from pieces of a life's work. The voice you hear is not an impression. It is not a recreation. It is the man himself, put back together across time. One more. This one requires you to know a specific shirt. In the original Toy Story, 1995, the villain is a boy named Sid. He wears a black t-shirt printed with a skull and crossbones. Now go to Coco, 2017. Somewhere in the crowd moving through the land of the dead, there is a skeleton wearing that exact shirt. Same design, same skull, same crossbones. 22 years later, Pixar put Sid in the afterlife. No announcement, no close-up. He is simply there, wearing the same clothes he died in. How many times have you watched these films? Did you catch the guitar chords? Did you hear The Shining playing while a porcelain doll explained her plan? Did you notice Sid? Most people did not. That is exactly how Pixar designed it. But hiding things inside a single film is only the first layer. Because the deeper you look, the more you realize some of these details were impossible to catch. Not because they were well hidden, but because the film they were pointing at did not exist yet.
Going to hell! Vámonos!
Predicting the future. Monsters, Inc. was released in 2001. Finding Nemo came out in 2003. Still in production, not yet announced, when Monsters, Inc. was in final animation. Go back to Monsters, Inc. right now, and you will find Nemo hiding in 3 separate locations. A clownfish painted in the mural behind the chef at Harryhausen's restaurant. A clownfish toy hanging in the trailer where Randall is banished. And among Boo's toys during her goodbye with Sully, a stuffed clownfish. Placed in this film 2 full years before Nemo existed as a released character. That is not coincidence. That is Pixar telling a future story inside a current one. In Finding Nemo, a child in the dentist's waiting room reads a comic book. On the cover, Mr. Incredible, 1 full year before The Incredibles was released. In Ratatouille, a dog's silhouette startles Remy through a Paris apartment window. That silhouette is unmistakably Doug from Up, 2 years before Up existed. In Toy Story 3, a postcard on Andy's bulletin board is signed by Carl and Ellie Fredrickson, confirmed by Disney's official D23 website. And then there is the one requiring you to stay past the credits. At the very end of WALL-E, after the credits finish rolling, the Pixar logo plays. Luxo Jr. bounces across the screen. His bulb burns out. Most people have already left by this point. But if you stay, WALL-E crosses the frame, picks up the dead bulb, and replaces it with an energy-efficient one. The film's entire environmental argument, restated in the studio logo, in a scene existing only for the people who stayed until after everything else was gone. Pixar hid the moral of their film inside the logo, after the credits, where almost no one looks. If these connections were accidental, explain Nemo hiding in Monsters, Inc. by name, in toy form, 3 separate times, inside a film made 2 years before he existed. You cannot. But even that is not the deepest layer, because not everything Pixar has been hiding was placed there for you to find. Some of it was placed there to disappear. The Pixar Theory. In 1989, John Lasseter directed a Pixar short film called Knick Knack. In 1999, it appeared briefly inside Toy Story 2 during the scene where Ham flips through television channels, the original version, unaltered. Then in 2003, Pixar re-released Knick Knack alongside Finding Nemo. The version they released was not the same film. The female figurine characters had been digitally altered, proportions reduced, the mermaid given a seashell bra. No announcement, no acknowledgement. The original version of that 1989 short now exists in exactly one place, frozen on a frame inside Toy Story 2. Pixar quietly edited their own history. The only surviving record is hiding inside another film. That is not an Easter egg. That is an erasure. The moving company throughout the Toy Story franchise, Eggman Movers, is named after Pixar production designer Ralph Eggleston, known internally as Eggman. In Toy Story 4's antique store, there is a can of Catmull's cream soda, a tribute to Pixar co-founder Edwin Catmull. In Finding Nemo, the dentist's niece Darla was named by director Andrew Stanton after his producer Darla K. Anderson, reportedly as revenge for a series of office pranks she had played on him throughout production. That name is in the credits permanently. Now we come back to the cottage, the wood carving of Sully, the wood carving of the Pizza Planet truck, the witch who vanishes through doors. There is a theory, supported entirely by evidence inside the films, that the witch in Brave is Boo from Monsters, Inc., grown old. That after the door between their worlds was destroyed, Boo spent her life learning to travel through time using wooden doors, the same technology Monsters, Inc. used. She went back to medieval Scotland, and in her cottage, she carved everything she remembered. Sully, because she never forgot him, and the Pizza Planet truck, because she had seen it in his world without understanding what it was. Every piece of evidence is on that shelf. The Sully carving, the anachronistic truck, the doors she disappears through. Pixar has never confirmed this theory. They have never denied it either. Drop a comment. Tell me whether you think the witch is Boo. The evidence is in the cottage. You have seen it. Make your case. Pixar's biggest cover-up. In July 2013, a freelance blogger named John Negroni published an essay on his personal website. No studio involvement, no insider access. His argument? Every Pixar film takes place in the same universe, and the hidden details are evidence of a single, coherent timeline. He called it the Pixar Theory. The essay collected over 10 million views on his personal blog alone, picked up by BuzzFeed, HuffPost, Mashable, and Entertainment Weekly, translated into 12 languages, and total impressions across every platform exceeded 100 million. Let that sit for a second. 100 million people encountered a fan theory published on a personal blog, with no marketing budget and no credentials. And then Pixar held a press event to say it was not real.
I don't think of The Incredibles being able to walk down the street and bump into Carl Fredricksen even. Even two humans exist in different worlds in my head.
In 2015, at the D23 Expo, Inside Out co-director Ronnie Del Carmen addressed the theory from the stage. Do you know what kinds of meetings we'd have to make sure all our movies line up? Official denial. Put on record. Pixar stood on a stage and said the map was not real. Then, they kept drawing it. Inside Out 2 embedded a reference to Elio before Elio was released. Elio embedded references to Toy Story 5 before it existed. The cross-film teasers accelerated after the denial. The cottage evidence was never removed. There is a version of this story where it is all coincidence, and there is another version where the people leaving the messages watched the room full of people who found them and said, officially, there was nothing to find. Pixar has never said which version is true. What they have done instead is keep making films. Subscribe if you want to be here when the next investigation drops, because this one is not finished yet. The map grows. It is 2026. Toy Story 5 is in theaters. John Ratzenberger is back as Ham, a streak that began in 1995 and has outlasted executive regimes, critical failures, and an official denial delivered from a stage in Anaheim. In Elemental, released in 2023, Pixar hid A113 as a chemistry equation on a transit sign.
What? Yeah, I got dibs on behind the dresser. Jesse?
In Inside Out 2, Joy keeps a small origami Pizza Planet truck on her desk, a paper model of a 1978 delivery vehicle, sitting in the emotional headquarters of a teenage girl's mind, placed there for the people who are still looking. They are always placing things for the people who are still looking. Go back to that cottage shelf, the stocky blue figure, the miniature truck with the rocket on its roof, the witch who vanishes through doorways. You know what those objects are now. None of it was accidental. All of it was deliberate. All of it points to the same belief, that somewhere inside every film about toys or monsters or a rat who wants to cook, there should be something extra, something hidden, something waiting for the person patient enough to pause the frame and look at the lower left shelf. That belief has not changed, not once. In 30 years, the map, they never stop leaving it there.